And welcome to the Township of Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Wednesday, August 7th. It is 1:02 p.m. and I call ourselves to order. The first item is our Canadian anthem. So if we could stand and turn to the flag, please. Excellent. Next is our land acknowledgement, and this will be a new land acknowledgement, one that has been adopted across the county, the upper and lower tier municipalities. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Township of Whitewater Region and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omamai-Winneni people. We thank the Omamai-Winneni people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Good, and I apologize if I said that wrong. I'm sure I will be corrected. Next item is our adoption of the agenda. So the recommendation that's before us is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the August 7th, 2024 agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Tabbert. Any changes? And I'll just look to the clerk. Is there any changes from a clerk perspective that are required?
Possible. Mr. Lance will not be in attendance for his delegation, but maybe we can just make that decision if he comes in the next few minutes. He's not here right now.
Perfect. So that's item 6.1. So we'll watch and the clerk will let us know. No other comments about the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. The next is the adoption of minutes. This is from the regular council of 19 June and there's two copies of the same sets of minutes here. So the regular council from 19 June. The recommendation is that the Council of Township of Whitewater Region approve and there's an error, so I'm going to verbally change it right now, the June 19th, 2024 minutes. Mover and a seconder. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Moore. Any errors or omissions from your review of those attached minutes? And acknowledging that I wasn't present, so I cannot complain about errors or omissions for these minutes. Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next, there's a number of committee and board meeting minutes that have been enclosed for you to read and for the public's access. The first one is the public library, and I'll just look to Councillor Tabbert. Is there any comments on the public library minutes? Good. Muskrat Watershed. Oh, Councillor Tabbert again. Good. Beachburg Rec. I'll look, Councillor Bell. Good. And our Community Services Advisory Committee minutes, Councillor Bell? Good. Any comments or questions from any other members of council? Good, we'll keep moving. Next is disclosures of interest. Is there any disclosures for any of the items on this agenda today? And I see none. So that moves into item 6, which is our presentations. We have 3 scheduled, and with Mr. Lance not present at this point in time, we're going to just skip 6.1 and move immediately into 6.2. And I'm just going to pull up my script. So at this point in time, we are going to pause our regular council meeting and move into a public meeting to discuss a zoning amendment. So I will bring this public meeting to order as of 1:07 p.m. And this is an application for a zoning amendment 14-199. And I'll turn it over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I'll just firstly read through the planner's statement with respect to amendments to the zoning bylaw and the public hearing today. If any person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Whitewater region before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council of the Township of Whitewater region to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. The person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Under Section 3411 of the Planning Act, if council decides to refuse an application or refuses or neglects to make a decision on an application within 120 days of the clerk receiving the application, the applicant or the Minister of the Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk. Section 3419 of the Planning Act states that not later than 20 days after giving notice of passing of the bylaw, the applicant, any person or public body who made oral or written submissions to council before the bylaw was passed, or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. If you'd like, I would go ahead and present the report.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. So the present application has been submitted by Bradley Bromley, and that's on behalf of Dave and Kathy Bromley, the owners, and it pertains to the property known municipally as 728 Molloy Road. This is the property on which there's a current location of a pit. One may be referenced as the Bromley Pit. So the entirety of the property is 112 hectares in size, quite large, has significant frontage on Molloy Road, 1,452 meters, and also fronts along on Bromley Line to the length of 685 meters. So currently the property contains an existing dwelling, several barns, outbuildings, agricultural fields, woodlands, and again, like that, as mentioned, the licensed Class A above water aggregate pit. So it has that existing pit on the property. The proposal in the present application is to permit to build a secondary dwelling on the north side. On the sketch that's demonstrated in front of you and attached to the report, you'll notice a rectangle in purple. That is the proposed location of the secondary dwelling. That proposed dwelling would, should it be constructed and this application approved, would be accessed via Molloy Road at the intersection with Dupree Line. So in order to permit a secondary dwelling, there are 9 different provisions in our zoning bylaw. These are new provisions from the new bylaw from January of this year. And in the present case, there's a need to amend 2 of the 9 provisions. They're noted on the second page of the report. One is pertaining to the shared driveway for both the principal and secondary dwelling, which they're seeking exemption from as part of this application. And secondly, the exemption with respect to the secondary dwelling being within 75 meters of the principal dwelling. So the purpose of those provisions that exist in our bylaw is to contain the primary and the secondary dwelling close to each other generally, so as to have less of an impact on the surrounding land use or the land use of the property. So for in this case, by co-locating the 2 dwellings, you're limiting impact on any of the agricultural property. You're limiting the number of driveways on our municipal roads because they have an effect on the use of those municipal roads. But in this case, they're proposing it way at the back of the property on property that is not used for agricultural purposes. Will have limited impact on our municipal infrastructure, so staff are supportive of the present application against those 2 provisions. The other sections of the bylaw that are being amended relate to the aggregate, the pit site, and the future extraction zone. The proponent submitted what's called a land use compatibility and aggregate impact assessment. So that's an assessment that reviews and analyzes the impact of this future house on the existing pit, the extraction of the existing pit, and the future expansion of that pit, because aggregates are resources that are protected by the province, and that policy funnels down through the official plan to our local municipalities. So that aggregate impact assessment demonstrated that there would be no significant impact on the existing extraction, and due to the periphery location of the proposed dwelling, again, will not have an impact on the future expansion of that pit. So the analysis prepared by the consulting firm JP2G demonstrated that they are supportive of the application moving forward, and we agree with their opinion. We as in township staff. So to close the summary of the presentation, we've received no public comments or concerns. Staff are supportive of the application, and we're seeking any feedback from the public as part of the public meeting component of today's meeting. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you, CAO, part-time planner. Clerk, I'll just get you to confirm, is there anyone here to represent the file that would like to speak?
None here or online.
Excellent. At this point, I'll open the floor up to council if there's any questions you'd like to ask in this public portion of the meeting. If not, there's a subsequent agenda item where we review the item with a motion. Is there any questions? Okay. Seeing none, then I need my script, please.
That's it.
Good. Oh, that's
Did good, yeah.
The public meeting to hear this zoning application or zoning amendment is now closed at 1:14 p.m. Good. Next item on the agenda, 6.3, the second quarter administration report. So the recommendation is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes. Can a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Trim, and over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. So we have before council the Q2 2024 Q2 apologies. Do you want me to restart? So what we'll do this afternoon is we'll funnel through each of the department after I summarize the CAO's message. So just extending a heartfelt congratulations to the 5 bursary recipients. Just acknowledging on behalf of myself and township staff the immense need to support our local residents with respect to continued education. Secondly, just recognizing the volunteer recognition awards that were awarded in Q2 to the youth, adult, and lifetime members of our community, and just recognizing the need and the dedication of all our volunteers in our community. And as a planner prior to my current role, I didn't really work too much with volunteers, but in my current role and having served as in the Community Services Department for some time, certainly recognizing the importance of volunteers in our community. So this quarter also marks the commencement of our summer student program. I had firsthand experience last Friday. I brought my son to the Ross Museum, 4-year-old child, and the student from the Ross Museum just got a lot of questions from my 4-year-old child and was able to support and respond to all of them. So just recognizing her name was Sam, but all of our students that work for us through the summer, they do play a vital role in our achievement of our goals. So recognizing also the continued work with our task force and rec association. So we continue to work closely with our task force to try to find different ways to address our critical infrastructure needs, and also with our rec associations to provide that continued level of service in our community with respect to ICE operations. So I continue to working through that and looking forward to this upcoming ICE season. Lastly, looking ahead, we have the budget. So it's August, and who would know that we're talking budget already for 2025. So working with our Treasurer McGonigal, we'll be distributing to staff in the next number of weeks a series of documents to support the preparation of our 2025 budget, and looking forward for some council direction in September. So we're back in it again, imagine that. And maybe we could be, if council so chooses, be the first one to approve our budget again for 2025, but we'll see what time will tell. So again, thank you to council for your ongoing support and engagement, and to all staff for your continued support in making our community a great place to live, work, and play. Thanks so much. Move it directly to community development. I'll take a break, so I do have to highlight a few things. I'll pass it over to CBO Schultz to highlight a few things from community development.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're very busy finishing off building permits because everybody wants their deposits back. So it's been working good, like our 2022 files and stuff like that are almost completing themselves. We have had 70 building permits and 25 septic applications, and we have 14 new homes today being built. Estimate construction of value is $10,122,341. Just want to give you a little bit of information on previous years. In 2022, we had, in the second quarter, the same as this, we had 18 new homes, and our estimate of values was $10,121 then. And 2023, we had 10 new homes, and the estimate was $8,286,011. So we're not at 2022 numbers, but we are ahead of 223, and our values are up. Any questions?
Good. Do you want to go with questions as we go along, CAO?
Sure.
Yes, maybe per department, and it's all summarized a little bit in community development on behalf of the planner and our community development coordinator, and perhaps we ask questions as a follow-up. So just highlighting that we did receive and process 12 planning applications in the 12 weeks of Q2, so we're averaging one planning application per week. The department also processed 5 grant applications, 3 CIPs, and 2 tourism and grant events tourism and event grants. New to Q2 quarterly report, you'll note communications section under community development. So it's a really interesting section on how we are being successful in achieving a reach and engaging with our audience through Facebook and Instagram. I would bring attention to the communications Facebook second bullet, content interactions. So that is the interactions, meaning the number of likes, reactions, saves, comments, shares, and replies to our content on Facebook at a number of 2,081 for Q2. So that's approximately 23 of those types of content interactions per day. So, I mean, it's certainly demonstrating that people are viewing our content via Facebook and our other social media streams. We're going to see that year over year or month over month to get a better sense of where we're trending. So that is a new section that'll form part of our quarterly reports, the communication part. Moving ahead, the Economic Development Department did plan and deliver the Mayor's Business Breakfast in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and Lanark and Renfrew County Labor Market Group. And also the department held its building and planning open house to support local residents as it pertains to their building projects for this year. Looking forward in the next 3 months or so, preparing for the Small Business Week to be held on October 16th, Taste of the Valley on October 19th in partnership both with the County of Renfrew, and then finalizing our activity guide through our marketing project through Cinnamon Toast. So a couple pretty important events and projects coming forward to council. So we'll take questions on community development if there are any. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions for any of the information presented under community development? Yes, Councillor Trim.
Yes, it's probably too soon to ask this question. Probably too soon to ask this question, but just if there's some sense, I know coming into this year, there was in the building department, if I may, Mr. Mayor, through to the CBO, there was a forecast that there would be in the building department a deficit of $77,000. And I'm just wondering if there's a sense that we may be closing that gap.
It's hard to tell right now, Councillor Trim, because it just depends on how the rest of the year proceeds. We will be getting some deposit money back if people don't meet them requirements, so that'll be income also. But I think the report that maybe at the end, where Curtis has a budget report on that, will show where we are right now.
Yeah, if I could just add, certainly Curtis and I are tracking to see where things are going to project, and perhaps as part of the Q3 report, we could summarize that to the members of council. Thanks.
Anything else? Good, I have two. Again, not three, two. It's all related to the CBO, I think. 25 septic applications. I know that there's a lot of discussion going on regionally about septic systems, especially rural ones that are independent. And I'm wondering, is there a breakdown or is there any information that you can provide on those 25? How many of those would be traditional systems versus these new smaller or more hybrid systems? Is there any information that you can share with council?
I can tell you that probably in this area, we probably only get maybe 2 of those new tertiary systems a year. Because of the cost of them is a factor. They're probably normally about $10,000 more than a conventional system. So that in this area has an effect. Of the new, we had 14 new houses this year, so I would say that like 12 of them would be brand new systems. The other ones would be replacement systems.
And the only other question, and it has to do with the outstanding building permits. I'm wondering if that could be added in Q3.
Definitely, that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, just to give us some perception as to what's still outstanding and from what years.
Yes.
Good. Otherwise, excellent. Anything else from anybody else? Does that trigger? Good. We'll move on to the next one. Thanks, CAO.
So we'll move forward to community services, and I'll pass it over to Manager Stephanie Plebin. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So by the numbers, we've got some listed numbers for rentals in the Cobden Arena, and just a reminder that the remaining facilities were rented by the recreational groups that operate them. And then our adaptive reuse was presented to council, as well as a community services committee meeting was held in June. For our key activities coming into this quarter, there were a number of education sessions that were held, and as well as ongoing use of the facility for exercise classes, pickleball meetings, and user groups. Staff have attended education sessions which are industry standard relating to the ORFA, as well as ongoing training for day-to-day operations, meaning safe propane handling and those types of courses that are required. Our summer students started, and the startup at the tourist booth in the Whitewater Seniors facility was opened and cleaned up. The staff did a paint job inside the tourist booth as well. June, the big give was held at the Cobden Arena, and multiple users in the baseball field, which is maintained by our staff. And then the spring work began with the grass cutting, which has continued all summer long, and we got lots of rain and lots of sun. Park work is ongoing. There was a cleanup in the Cobden Park and the beach area with assistance of the Public Works and Community Services staff. And just a short update on the mold incident in Beachburg, just saying that the cleanup is ongoing, and actually this week they're in there as well. Staff submitted an inclusive community grant application to be able to provide some picnic tables and benches throughout Whitewater region. We're waiting on finding out the results of that. I was told the beginning of August we would find out the results of that application. We've provided introduction to booking system to our user groups, as well as mainly our user groups for baseball so far. with an introduction for staff to know how it works for people to be able to book online themselves for coming into this next ice season. So the request would come through staff, through the computer, as opposed to picking up a phone and calling or booking through email, which is what has been standard. And also, so you're all tracking, the insurance requirement for bookings in Whitewater has been introduced to our user groups as well. A mass email went out to all of our renters, and they've been introduced to our new process and the requirements for insurance on our facilities. So you may hear in the community that, and just please direct any questions to myself. On that note, we are starting also an email list for weekly ice availability, and Amber's working through that process. So if there's anybody that you know that would like to be on that email list, send that information to Amber. Through the seniors program, our Meals on Wheels is continuing Tuesdays and Fridays, and community meals will continue to be planned throughout the summer months. I've already seen the menu for September and October, and it sounds like I'll be ordering. Programs and activities have been held in multiple locations, and I just wanted to note on there that we have been successful in funding applications through the volunteer, the board members, or sorry, the working group members, to apply for funding, mainly being used for food security. So the Grand Pals is not food security, but the Pembroke Petawawa Community Group and the 100 Women Grant will be funding that is going to be used directly for food security within our seniors program. The Grand Pals program, you'll see that rolled out probably in the spring. It's actually a 2025 program. And we've been successful in getting funding for that, which is a program to be within the schools. And the schools will have students in, I think it's a grade 5-6 classroom, where our volunteers will go in and they will share stories. So that's another grant application. And then looking forward to our transition from summer to fall, and our community grant application will be posted shortly. I just found out it hasn't actually been posted yet, so we'll get that out there ASAP. And just a side note that our volunteer opportunities exist within Whitewater for anybody who's interested. We do need volunteers for friendly visiting, and as well as meal delivery on Meals on Wheels. So if anybody has any contacts, they can reach out to Julie. And then moving back into fall for our ice-in dates, I've just noted the potential dates that are being passed across my desk for Cobden, Beachburg, and Westmeath. If anybody has any questions?
Excellent, thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Bell.
Sorry, just with so is the online booking system for the ice, is that up and going? That's going to be operational for the installation of the ice then?
Good. And Councillor Trim.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Mayor, a comment rather than a question. And that is, I hope that Council has noted the success that the volunteers and staff have been having with the seniors' grant applications. It is very important that there's alternate sources of revenue for the seniors program. And so as I said, the staff and the volunteers have been working diligently with any and all grants that might be appropriate, and they've been very successful, and I'm hoping that staff noted that, not staff, council has noted that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll just highlight two things. The first one is the grass cutting and weed trimming. It's hard for me and probably for the public to get a real appreciation for that. Is there any numbers that you can provide, council, that would indicate the volume of work or some kind of indication? Because it's occupying one line on 2 pages, but it represents hours and hours of labor.
It does, and I can do that for Q3 if you'd like.
Yeah, if there's some, just to give us an appreciation for how that takes over your desk.
Yep.
For the summertime. Good. And the second one is, again, a comment, maybe more than a question. The new insurance requirements, I just wanted to make sure this is similar to what is already implemented on the community use of schools. And it's a simple way for for non-users that don't have insurance coverage to gain insurance coverage while using our facilities. Is that correct?
It is, it's a requirement now. So they can purchase their own insurance through their own broker, or they can come through us and we can provide the insurance to them. But yes, it's all done online and it's all a process through their website.
Excellent, good. Doesn't trigger anything else. We'll move on to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll move to corporate services with Treasurer McGonigal. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Council. So just going through the first part by the numbers. So at the end of June 30th, we had $1.3 million of taxes remaining outstanding. We had sent out 12 property notices, farm debt notices, 10 of which did not respond, 2 of which were sent the farm debt notice later on in July. Through that process, none accepted the process of farm debt notice notification. So we have processed now to the start of the tax sale process. They have yet to be registered, but once the properties are registered, they'll be required to either make a full payment of the entire amount of taxes outstanding, including right up to today's billing with the final billing, or enter in an extension agreement, but that'll come to council at that point. We sent out the first notices for 2023 for anybody who is in the 3+ years category of taxation outstanding. Of that, 19 properties, there was 38 properties in total that were sent out to. 19 of them made payments, resulting in $42,670 being received. Our utility billing right at June 30th had an outstanding of $56,850, and development charges collected to the point of June 30th was $29,250 for township-wide and $3,000 for water service. I just wanted to make a note at that point. Those are the amounts that are billed whenever building permits are issued by the building department. For the number that the CBO gave of $10 million of construction value, if we were to allocate that as value that could be directly to assessment, that it could increase in assessment. So I'm aware that inside that $10 million is also including septic systems, which do not change your assessed value of your property, and changes of buildings that don't change your actual assessment. But if we were to say it was just residential, brand new homes worth $10 million being built, that would be an increase of $74,000 to the township. That's what we would see as revenue coming back municipally. So that's what the growth of the township through these building permits, that's what kind of revenue it can generate towards the township. So the general budget at this point is showing a $3.8 million deficit. That is only because revenue is not recognized until we do the final billing, which to that point has been mailed out. Many of you may have received your tax bills already. It's gone out, so that now in Q3 you'll see where the actual revenue is registered on the books versus the expenses that we've already incurred. We go down to the water budget. It's showing a $9,713 deficit. That is just mainly due to timing. We've incurred some of the expenses already, but have not incurred all the revenue, because as of June 30th, we'd only received 2 of the 6 billings that we do for water. So then, looking forward, the key activities, I should say, going through is we've just completed the work for the 2023 financial statements. Currently, the auditors are reviewing, and hopefully the September 4th meeting, I hope to bring those financial statements forward for council's review, as well as the development charges and reserve balances. The final billing has been sent out currently, and we're working on iCity Online to get that project completed so that residents can see their bills and information online. Looking ahead, we're doing the 2024 final billings have been mailed out. We're beginning updates to the Township Asset Management Plan to meet the new requirements in 2025, July 1, 2025. And we're commencing the 2025 operating budget, as the CAO mentioned. So that'll be coming forward very shortly. Hopefully the September 18th meeting for budget direction. And as well as before that meeting, we'll be bringing forward a long-term debt strategy and policy. Any questions?
Yes, Councillor Tappert.
In the first part, the property taxation, Can you just, I'm sorry, give me that number again, the 42,000, because there's one extra digit in there, and I'm just, want
Oh.
to make sure I have it.
Yeah, we're just remove the 0. It's 42,674.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Councillor Trim?
Again, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. It seems that overall, the strategy with respect to collecting taxes in arrears, according to the bar graph, seems to be working. So that is in itself good news. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? Good. Are we going to review the financial sheets at the end, or do you want to talk about those now?
I would talk about them now. It ties to this part. So.
Perfect. So I'm just going to flip us to the back set of pages that are included in your report. And the handy part with looking at all these numbers is the variance, which offers us some indication of how close we are to projections versus actuals. And I know when you go through this list, there's a lot of information here, so I encourage you to speak directly to the treasurer about it. But just for the sake of some of the discussion, I wanted to highlight a couple, if the treasurer could offer some explanation to council and the public. So the first example I'm just going to use is under, my headings are cut off. So the second page, I think it's arena rentals, and they're down, you go down to the Cobden Arena slab. It's now reporting that we're 377% over. Is that correct? And if so, can you offer any explanation?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
This was the big gift billables.
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah, so that had to do with our charitable pieces. So in the period that went through, there was the big give that went through, and that's where that amount came from.
So we were projecting $500 for the year to be spent on the arena slab, but we've actually spent about $2,400 right now.
That's
and
correct.
that's specific to the big give.
Yep.
In terms of our support to that project, is that correct?
You're referring to the revenue line for clarity?
Oh, I'm in the
So we
revenue,
projected
yeah.
$500 of revenue. The current revenue generated is $2,300 and change. The $2,300 is a transfer from another account from our community recreation grants to this account in lieu of our donation, our in-kind support to the big give through the community recreation grants.
Perfect.
Tracking?
Yeah, I'm tracking, and this is, I'm just hoping to
Yeah.
highlight a couple of these, so this
That's
is
good.
perfect.
Yep.
So it does recognize our support to that event, but we're supporting it via community grant, something that we can't budget for annually because we don't determine which organizations we're going to support before the year starts. It's after we
Yeah.
go through the grant process.
Correct. So what happens is we budgeted an expense amount to be given out as the grant. It's just whenever the grant is actually issued, it's whether it becomes as an in-kind type of scenario, which is this is just tracking the in-kind, recording as revenue in a different department,
Yep.
or whether it's a cash out type of situation. Either way, the expense is recorded on the expense line, which was what originally was budgeted, but then the revenue portion that we receive, because it's a service we're able to provide to them, just comes in on the revenue side.
Perfect. So that is a variance that stands out, but a little bit of a discussion, and it's clear why that's a variance that's necessary for this year. And I'm not going to go through a whole bunch here, Treasurer, but I'll just highlight a couple more. The next one is under administration. I think I'm on page 4. And just under admin, there's travel and expenses for 1,100.
Yeah, so
We're at 45%.
Yeah. So that one is due to, so that is a transfer I have to still make between, it's a miscoding where mileage was put into that account instead of for the education conferences and seminars. That's where that goes.
Okay. So
That account has been corrected since and is now below budget again.
Perfect. So we're still on track.
We are, yes.
The report was just a snapshot in time. Perfect. Good. Last example, and it is specific to the Westmeath Arena on the second last page. Third last page. Westmeath Arena propane, we budgeted $500. We've actually spent $1,000, overspent by $500.
Yeah, so it's just straight the cost of the propane, because based on the prior year, we had budgeted that. Cost just has increased to that amount for the amount that was used, which could either tie into the age of the machine, which is one that the Zamboni that's used in Westmeath is of more vintage. So could be attributed to that, and also to the actual fact that propane as a cost has gone up substantially over the last year.
Perfect. And no, that's all I'm going to say to that one. Good. Those are just 3 examples. I just wanted to offer, if other members of council are looking at those variances, those are some of the indicators for areas that you may want to delve into, or from a public perspective if there's someone. Now, I'm going to, at this point, I know earlier Councillor Trim had talked about the building, but I think, did you say Q3 we were going to review it, or?
Yeah, we could present a summary of our projected outcome for the 2024 year as part of Q3. Yeah,
Perfect.
certainly.
Good, we'll leave it there. Does that trigger any other questions or comments from council? Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just on the taxation portion, so I guess that was line number 1 on the variance report. So can we assume that roughly the final billing is about 3.6 million going out for taxation?
Yes.
That's roughly what it is.
Yeah, so we just did the total billing, so the overall total billing, which includes the county's portion and the education portion, is a little over $7 million. So in total, for what we actually bill out to our residents is $13,665,906. So if you attribute back to that original outstanding amount that we currently have sitting at the end of June, it works out to be 9.98%.
So, just back to the corporate services overview as of June 30th, 2024. So that 1.3 million outstanding, that's 2023 tax outstanding.
So that's the interim, a little portion of interim, and then it's 2023, it's a piece of 2022, it's also a piece of 2021.
So it's previous taxation with some interim of 2024.
You've got it. So it's $160,000 is 3 years and prior.
Yeah.
212 would be 2022 taxes outstanding. 502,000 is 2023 taxes outstanding, and of the interim billing that went on earlier this year is 390. That includes penalty and interest.
Right. So just under general budget then, so the comment municipal taxation not recognized as revenue till final bills are issued in August. So there is some billing being recognized in that outstanding amount.
No. So revenue is through the GAAP accounting method. Revenue is recorded as soon as it's incurred, or as soon as it's billed,
Right.
not as soon as it's received. So we record revenue and our accounts receivable. Once it goes to our balance sheet side, it's just accounts receivable and cash. So we're just waiting for that cash flow to come in. That's the side that we have. The revenue itself has already been recorded in those applicable years.
Gotcha. So as soon as 2H billing goes out, that gets recorded as revenue then?
Exactly. So what happens is whenever our interim billing goes out, it sits on our balance sheet as a receipt, as a payable, which then moves, as a receivable, which then moves to our revenue side as soon as the final billing is done. Because the way our system works is it reverses the interim billing. As you'll see on your tax bills, it says interim billing amount is the bottom, being credited back to you, and then has a full total calculation. That's when it's actually recorded as revenue.
Great. Super, thank you.
That's good, and thank you. Great question, and Treasurer, I appreciate you walking us through that. Good. And nice to have that breakdown of that 1.3 million. It's much easier to understand when it's broken up over those 3 years plus interim.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions from members of council? Okay, you're off the hook. Thank you, Treasurer.
We'll move over to the fire services. I spoke to our Fire Chief McLaren, and he was going to provide us with a video. Did he submit that?
So we don't have video, but he did send me audio.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So if we could play the audio.
I'm on mute. Oh, sorry.
Second quarter. Good afternoon. Sorry I'm not able to attend in person. Here is the second quarter report for the Whitewater Region Fire Department. Second quarter, we responded to 35 emergencies.
Is it possible to make it louder?
Can you put your microphone
Can you turn it, my microphone is on it, but Sean says he can hear it, but can we make it a little louder?
As long as it's quiet, I can.
Play. Okay.
Good afternoon. Sorry I'm not able to attend in person, but here is the second quarter report for the Whitewater Region Fire Department. Second quarter, we responded to 35 emergencies. This happens to be the exact number that we responded to in Q1. Includes 5 fires, 1 extrication, and 2 water rescue calls. We completed our Alarm for Life door-to-door smoke alarm program. Statistics are being compiled and will be shared in Q3. Mandatory community risk assessment was completed in June. It will be presented to council in the fall. Work continues on our training site, hoping to break ground in August. Tanker replacement for vehicle 9718 has been ordered. Expected delivery in 2016. Correction, 2026. The key activities in Q2 included pump testing, which was completed in May. Our recruit class advanced to probationary firefighters in June, allowing them to respond to calls in a limited fashion. Level 2 training culminated with written and practical tests in May. 16 firefighters completed this testing. This is getting us well on our way to meeting the 2026 mandatory certification through the province. Fireworks bylaw, a pay policy, and a hiring and promotional policy all were presented and approved by council in the second quarter. Looking ahead, we're going to do analysis into medical response feasibility. Work will continue on our training site with the intent to have it ready to be used in some fashion late in Q3. And there are multiple grants that we'll be applying for in a couple months as well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Oh, there's the volume is still being adjusted. Unique way of delivering it, and I appreciate he's probably off fighting a fire somewhere. But excellent. Good. Any questions that we want to relay to the fire chief through the CAO? Yes, Councillor Trim.
Again, a comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I noticed 2 water rescue calls, and I note that we have an agreement with the city of Pembroke, and I'm thinking that was a very positive decision on behalf of council to do that, and so I'm very happy I was part of that decision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll just highlight for the matter from a public perspective, but the look-ahead point that the fire chief spoke to about the analysis and the need, analysis of the need and feasibility of the medical response continues, and that is related to the notice of motion that was submitted by Councillor Bell. So that's just that request for staff review of that is ongoing and remains due to come back to council. Good. Excellent. Next one then, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll turn it over to our staff at Public Works. We have Manager Lane Claroux, and we have our Environmental Superintendent Deanna Nicholson. Over to you, Lane, or over to Deanna first. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll start with the the super interesting stuff. The total tonnage of solid municipal waste that was collected at the curbside and disposed of at our Ross landfill in Q2 was 329 tons. Unfortunately, in Q2 of 2023, we had a bit of a shorter period when we could report on it, so it's not easily comparable. But in 2023, we had 264 tons, so it's relatively on par, we think, if we had added one more week in there to the totals last year. As far as the total tonnage that came into the landfill, which includes the curbside waste and any sorted and unsorted loads from residents and businesses, the tonnage was 994 metric tons in Q2 of 2024, which was actually a 23% decrease from the same period in 2023. In 2023, we had about 1,200 metric tons come in. So this could indicate that residents are tending to use the curbside a little bit more. We also had some flood and ice storm related stuff coming in at that time in 2023. So as well as the changeover of the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Centre no longer allowing residents in. So I suspect we've seen a slight decrease in some of the commercial haulers coming in during sort of the first period of the year. So it might be that those haulers are finding alternate places to take some of their stuff. But we'll have to wait and see, maybe get another year of data to see how if that changes over time. One other thing to note at the Ross landfill is that we received 755 metric tons of divertible wastes, mainly leaf and yard wastes, and also includes mattresses and couches, which was a 128% increase from the same period in Q2 of 2023. And I'll actually remind you, in 2023 we had, again, the ice storm, so our tonnages were up pretty dramatically last year as well, and they're up even further. And a big portion of this is due to the road brushing work that was done by Public Works. So they brought in a pretty substantial volume of wood to our landfill this year. So that is the reason for the fairly large bump that came into our leaf and yard waste pile. I'll move on to some of the other, the strategic plan progress. From the environmental perspective, our landfill mats were received in Q2, and as well as recycling containers for public events were delivered. I'm eagerly looking forward to one of the first events that we can hand them out. Unfortunately, we didn't get them in time for one of the fairs, but I think Taste of the Valley will hopefully be an opportunity to include some recycling containers on the site. As far as key activities go, our water and wastewater task force participated in our facility tour of each of the water and wastewater plants. As well, we undertook 3 sessions here in Council Chambers. Session 2, 3, and 4 were in April, May, and then in June. And the task force is wrapping up is wrapped up in Q3, and staff are working on the finalizing, or I guess putting together the draft report for that, which will be coming out later in early September, hopefully. Our Beachburg Water Treatment Plant Revitalization Project, we had our pre-construction meeting on April 15th, and another key item with this project is that township staff and Aqua met with the Renfrew County and District Health Unit, as well as the Ministry of Environment, to discuss the project, as we expect that there are going to be at least 2 drinking water or boil water advisories that are going to take place this fall. Due to, for instance, one of the things that's happening out there is we're replacing the generator. So there'll be potentially a short period of time where during the switchover from the old unit to the new unit that they'll need to have a boil water advisory in place. So there'll be some more information coming out to the public in the next month or 2. Some preliminary information went out in the current, and we'll go out with water bills as they come out. As far as at the water filtration plant in Cobden, 4 of the filters in the plant were all removed, the cassettes, and were manually, there was a recovery cleaning undertaken on the cassettes as part of maintenance by Aqua and the equipment supplier, H2O Innovations. A great one for me was the 2023 Blue Box data call reporting was completed on April 16th, and this is the final time we have to report on Blue Box to the ministry, which is a great thing. It's a very long, drawn-out process, so I'm happy to be that this is the last one that we'll have to do for that. The biennial Cobden closed waste disposal site report for monitoring activities at that location for 2022 and 2023 was filed with the Ministry of Environment. And the last reporting one that I can speak to is the broader public sector energy reporting. This is the reporting that we complete for all of our facilities on our energy use for electricity and gas, was completed and submitted to the ministry on June 27th. And this is a key thing that we look at annually to monitor the energy usage in our buildings and to help identify projects that we can look towards to reduce our energy usage and costs. And that's it for me. I'll turn it over to
Yes, with Public Works, the road crews, the amount of patching, it has been down from last year, and that's partly to do with summer students starting later, and also other road just getting patched correctly. The department received a new 7-ton trailer that we use primarily to hauling around the new sidewalk tractor, and also use in Public Works and Parks and Rec. Additionally, the 2024 Freightliner tandem truck that was received on May 17th. That was, if you're notable, that was awarded on June 21st of 2023, so just shy of a year receiving it. The township applied for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund. We did receive communication today that the township was not successful in the funding. Four staff attended the TJ Mahoney Road School course, and also Kylie completed the Good Roads roadway management course, and also the Mine View Bay Garage was cleaned, and new grates were installed, ordered, and getting ready for the new lunchroom that will be worked on in Q3. Look ahead. What you've seen is, Council, so we have received the new BOMAG landfill compactor and completion of Rapid Road and Coalsmiths, which Coalsmiths it was completed a few weeks ago. And then with going forward, as Deanna stated, that was the completion of the wastewater task force and the final document, which will come in September. Thank you.
Thanks, that's a lot of information. Is there questions or comments from council? Councillor Trim.
Yes, if I may, to the Environment and Services Manager. Two things, if I may. What is the situation this year for mattresses and couches? Because I know we were thinking of some different things. And the second one is the landfill mats. They've received, according to this, are they being used? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so I can speak to the landfill mats first. We did receive them and we have used them periodically. Unfortunately, the easiest way for them to place the mats is with our excavator. And our excavator has been off-site with the roads crew for brushing for a good chunk of the summer. So we haven't been using it recently, but in the early part of the spring, they were using it. And I can report that they are very happy with them. They're doing a really good job keeping the critters out. We landfills often deal with turkeys is one that we have that can be pretty amazing at digging things up. So the mats are working well when they have been using them. But I hope that once we get our excavator back in the fall, once the roads crews are mostly done with it, that that they'll be using it more so on a regular basis. Now I've spoken so much. Mattresses. Okay, so unfortunately we ran into a snag with mattresses, and as you're aware, our hope was that we would institute a recycling program for that. We've run into a snag with the company that we were in discussions with about setting that program up, about the loading of the bin and how that would be undertaken. So we're trying to come up with some plans on how to do that, because a critical thing with hauling the mattresses is getting them stacked in the most efficient way possible for them to be hauled. And mattresses that come into the landfill are not the nicest item. So the handling aspect of that has been, we're trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. And in what area of the landfill we're going to set that up. So we're actually have the ministry on site tomorrow, so that's one of the things that we were going to discuss and try and figure out a plan going forward. So as it stands now, mattresses are still being ground for the ones that we've collected so far. And I do remind you that when we do grind them, we do use them as cover material. So it is there is a beneficial reuse aspect to grinding the mattresses. Ideally, like we said, we'd like to remove them for recycling, because then we take that out of the grinding contract. But at this point, we are grinding them, so that airspace perspective, the mattresses aren't a concern, and they do actually provide cover material for the winter. I hope that answers it.
Any other question? Councillor Moore.
Just a comment. Would like to thank the employees who furthered their education on our behalf. It's nice of them to follow through and keep it up, and looking forward to working with them in the future, and now that they're so smart.
Councillor Olmsted.
Great, thank you. Just wondering, for the Q3 report, can we add just a little blurb in there regarding the landfill compactor and the estimated extension of the landfill site due to purchasing that compactor? Just as a refresher, I know we've been through it before, but I'd like to be refreshed. Thank you.
And Councillor Tabbert?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, does the Public Works not have its own excavator?
Yes, so we, the wheel excavator that the roads crew have primarily does brushing roads, because we are behind, so we have a full staff member that is brushed. I'm year round, and then the Public Works, the road department do bore it to install culverts on the road project. If not, it will do. We remove like the brushing by if we were using it for culverts. The one thing that we're looking into is to do other ways to move the mats. For example, we have other fleet in the landfills, or we potentially can move the mats. So we are under investigation for that.
And Councillor Trim, did you have a second question?
Actually, Councillor Moore beat me to it, but I think it's important to note that this township considers professional development to be a priority, and I'm so happy that we're supporting that. I think that's it's okay to state that twice. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'm just going to throw some things out as well. Brushing program. Again, just like we talked about grass cutting, this is a significant effort that the township does. And it surprised me with the tonnages, how it may be affecting the tonnages for some of the divertible waste. I'm wondering, is there another metric that could be reported on? Could you provide us some other indication of just the volume of effort that's involved in this? And maybe in Q3, if you can't offer anything at this point.
Yes, definitely. And this was like a one-off with the amount of lack of winter maintenance that was required this spring. The road staff did a lot of manual brushing ahead, which would typically we would be plowing snow, and that's why you've seen a lot of waste, a lot of tree waste.
Perfect. Thank you. And I pass these compliments on already to Public Works Manager and the staff. I've received 2 phone calls complimenting the township on the brushing, the standard, what it looks like now that it's been complete on some of the different roads. So great to get that kind of feedback, and important, obviously, is recognized by the public and the safety it provides. I caught your comment about the housing enabling water system that you snuck into your presentation. That is very disappointing. So we received formal notice from the province that we were not successful?
That's correct. Yeah, so Councillor Kerr, it was a 8.2 total project with 73%, so about 6.1 million in funding we applied for.
Yeah, and that took hours and hours of your time.
Yeah, of the team's plan. Yeah, quite not myself, the whole team. In the letter from the ministry, that they say that there was overwhelming response, and that they're going to open a second intake, which is good news.
So don't throw away your notes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and this just may be something that we'll, if we do get that delegation with MOI, we can discuss in more detail. Good. And the only other comment I'd throw out is, I know we talk about of water advisories that were mentioned for the work that's being done planned in Beachburg. I noticed that there's been new community signs put out in Beachburg and in Westmeath, roadside signs, and I wonder if those things may be an alternative way for us to post public notices that would capture anybody driving by those signs. If that's an option for us to consider as a rental or some type of agreement, I would throw it out there for consideration. Good. No other questions from council? We'll move on to the next one, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we're moving over to the office of the CAO, and I will pass it over to Clerk Miller to highlight a few items. Perhaps you could highlight in the office of the CAO and summarize maybe council business while we're with you, Clerk Miller. Thanks so much.
Okay. I attached a little graph that shows the Q2 year-to-date, so that would have been Q1 and Q2 and the 2023 Q1, Q2. If you notice, animal control, property standards and zoning, we struggled to track those up until recently, which now we're using Access E11 with greater ease, and we now have a way of tracking this information. So going forward, hopefully we have some good numbers for that. Our stretch plan progress, again, we're using Access E11 to track complaints, and that also is our MLES, that's our bylaw enforcement agency, is also using Access E11 to track all complaints that are coming in through them. We sent letters to non-compliant recreation vehicle holders, and those that aren't in compliant and aren't reaching out to us are then going to bylaw for follow-up. We also heard 2 reports regarding the short-term accommodation. Some key activities, we are continuing to work with OnServe. Just recently they completed an assessment, or they did an on-site of an assessment of our needs, and hopefully we'll have a report come forward shortly with that. Excuse me. A look ahead, we're looking at reviewing the recreation vehicle bylaw. A report is coming forward regarding the integrity commissioner appointment, and we will be required to do a tabletop exercise this year. Staff reports for Q2, again, they're all listed there, but some of the big ones was the Westmeath Boat Launch Creek Rehabilitation Design, our appointments to some of our user groups, Kinsman Pool request. Again, listed are the Q2 presentations that we heard and all the bylaws that we heard in the Q2. I pass it over to.
Thanks so much, and I'll go ahead and highlight a few things as well. So the, just under key activities of the Office of the CAO, so we presented to Council a report and submitted 8 delegations to the 2024 AMO conference, so delegations with ministers and/or their parliamentary assistants. So with some of the divisions in the different provincial ministries, there's been some swapping and moving around of the ministries. We currently have 8 delegations at AMO, so the Monday, Tuesday, the 19th and 20th for the members of council to attend. And I'm still waiting to hear from 1. So we applied for 8, we might get 9 as a change from the ministry organizations. On the point of the funding for the Housing Enabling Grant, we are meeting with the parliamentary assistant again of the Ministry of Infrastructure, so part of the MPP, Mr. Sandhu. I have also confirmation from Madawaska Valley and Monastery Valley that they were also unsuccessful in getting the grant. So there's circulation amongst the CAOs on who got the funding. I'm just waiting to hear from others. I would just highlight maybe 2 other points here. We continued, the mayor and I, with our connections with neighboring communities. So we met with the township of Laurentian Hills. Although slightly distant from Whitewater region, they have an interesting dynamic in Laurentian Hills. They've dealt with boat launches. They deal with municipal levies at 0% increases in the last number of years. So interesting things to learn from Laurentian Hills. And then just highlighting again that we're going to focus on the budget moving forward and the departmental work plans, which will be discussed very shortly. And then maybe just highlighting under council business, I think it's interesting to see all of the listed reports. I think it brings value to this quarterly report. And thank you to the clerk for listing them all, as well as the presentations and bylaws. So a bit lengthy, but again, it reminds us of all the work that we've done in the last 3 months. Thanks so much, and glad to respond to any overarching questions relating to the administration report. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, CAO. Any questions or comments from members of council? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment only. Just appreciate everything and all the work that's been put through here, and to everyone has worked so hard. It's been certainly a very busy 3 months. So thank you, and thank you. I do appreciate this report very much too, the additions. So that's great. Thank you to you, Carmen. Thanks.
Any other comments? Good, seeing none. I'll just add one thing that the CAO, and maybe you're going to put it in the next quarter, but our FCM resolution. Did you want to speak to that just for a moment?
Yeah, certainly. It was not noted in this report, but essentially, as part of FCM standing for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, it's a similar body to the Associations of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. However, it's a federally organized body to represent the municipalities across the country. So they have occasions, I think it's 3 times per year, where local municipalities could present a resolution to the FCM board members for their consideration. And so we did submit ours, I think it was early July, just before the deadline for July 8th. So we forwarded a resolution relating to water and wastewater and the efficiency, or the affordability rather, and the constraints that we're dealing with, and for FCM to examine this holistically across the whole country. So that was submitted in early July for consideration in September. So we're hopeful that it meets their parameters of a resolution that can be brought forward to their board, and then we'll hear probably in the next few weeks whether or not it'll be heard by their board in September. Thanks.
And I'll just close off by echoing the Deputy Mayor's comments. The amount of work represented in this report, not just preparing the report, but what the quarter that it represents, we acknowledge that and thank staff for all their work. Thank you. Good. Excellent. We will come back to the resolution. And if there's no other questions or comments, I'll call for a vote on it. And that was to receive this report for information purposes. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Excellent. What we'll do now is we're going to just take a short 5-minute recess, and then we'll jump back into it. And welcome back to the Township of Whitewater Region's, excuse me. We're back at the regular council meeting and we're going to call ourselves to order here at 2:23 p.m. Good. And the next item on our agenda is the mayor's address. And I've prepared some notes that I can't read because my eyes are getting weak. Okay. Good. So almost 2 months since I was last in this chair, and I just wanted to publicly thank the deputy mayor and council for filling in without me, for me, so I could attend my daughter's graduation in June at Carleton. It was a great event, and thank you so much. Goes to show that anybody can be replaced. It's good. Since our last council meeting in June, there's been a number of meetings and events that I wanted to report back to you on. And I'll go through these. The first one, roundtable with the Minister of Infrastructure, the Honourable Kinga Surma. She had a virtual town roundtable with all the mayors across the province, discussing the rollout of fibre to the home and looking for feedback from municipalities about obstacles or what might be preventing the successful rollout of that within this current year. She also indicated subsequent plans for other resources for those still not accessing 50-10 megabytes level services. So what does this mean to us? We have a project that's been approved by the ministry. Cogeco was awarded a contract to put fiber to 700 homes within Whitewater region. It's currently underway, and our report back was we had no obstacles with the rollout. It's happening on schedule, and we should have it complete within the year. Good. She did talk about these subsequent plans for people that they just can't connect or can't get connected to current available resources, and it'll probably be something wireless, whether it's satellite or some other similar system. We'll know more as the year rolls out. The next one, OWL celebrated their 50 years on the Ottawa River. We also saw Splash Valley had their officially renaming ceremony, going from Logos Land to Splash Valley, and their grand opening at the end of June. At the end of June, we also had the county council meeting. So the summary of that meeting is in your package, and we can go through that at that point in the agenda if there's anything from you. The CAO and I met with the mayors of and the CAOs of Madawaska. Sorry, it wasn't a CAO. Manager of Public Works was filling in that day. So we met with the mayors of Madawaska, Renfrew, and the warden on water wastewater advocacy in preparation for the upcoming AMO conference. They've also included an expert panel that's going to take place Sunday afternoon that will review the delivery of water and wastewater in Ontario. So that's something that I've scheduled myself to attend and participate in on behalf of the community. And that's AMO's response essentially to our letters saying that something needs to be investigated. We had an announcement by the new Minister of Energy and Electrification. Here at the end of June, they announced a $162 million investment in the Chinook Hydro Dam and asked for me to participate in that announcement. This will extend the 70-year-old plant for another 25 years and help support the electrical needs of all the new homes being constructed across Ontario. And a reinforcement that I said to the minister was, this just reinforces yet another example of where rural Ontario is significantly contributing to the development of the province as a whole. 2 Canada Day parades. We had one in Westmeath, another in Foresters Falls, and a great opportunity to join these events. I just wanted to thank staff, I think it was the clerk, who decorated one of the vehicles, and then we had Councillor Tabbert drive the vehicle. And there was no accidents and no damage. And very successful parades. Great to see, and thank you so much for supporting that participation in those community events. As the CAO had mentioned, we met with the mayor and the CAO of Laurentian Hills. Their tax rate, and I think I got the language right, Treasurer, but their tax rate has remained frozen for 13 consecutive years. So we wanted to find out more about what their initiatives were in that area, And of course, we ventured into a number of other discussions on some of their business that they do, just so we could see if there was things we could learn from a financial perspective. So very fruitful visit. I also participated in the 168th Beachburg Fair opening ceremonies and the Tour de Whitewater cycling event that occurred here in July. It was incredible to see the volunteers putting on these events that attract over 10,000 people to our community. And of course, thanks to the township staff for your support of these events in the background. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, whether it's someone's there to take the garbage, connect the water, cut the grass. There's a lot of things that goes on to make sure that these are successful from a township perspective. The CEO and I also met with the Community Resource Center in Killaloe, their executive director, and we wanted to better understand how they, in the small village of Killaloe, offer daycare. We wanted to examine their model and some other services. So again, trying to see if we can learn from what others are doing to see how we could replicate those things here. Participated in the Pembroke Public Library Multicultural Festival opening ceremonies as one of the sponsoring municipalities, and that was a sponsorship on behalf of each member of council. It was an excellent opportunity for us to come together with our neighbors, Laurentian Valley, Pembroke, ourselves, and the Pembroke Public Library to host this regional event. An excellent, like over 4,000 guests is what they were forecasting. And the last one is just there's been recently some meetings with local agencies and organizations that have helping to prepare us for the upcoming AMO conference. As the CAO had mentioned, we've received approval on a number of our delegation requests, as were outlined in the May 15th report to council. So we're just preparing for that, as well as the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility has reached out and asked us to provide a 10-minute presentation on our age-friendly community plan and the successes that we've realized, including the current the SELC being awarded to Whitewater Region, the annualized $45,000 that is the provincial government is going to be giving Whitewater Region to support our seniors. So that ends my mayor's report. Although it was the summer, it seemed busier than normally. But lots going on, and I'd welcome any questions or comments from members of council if there's anything that you had any questions on. Good, excellent. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comments. Clerk, is there any public comments for today?
None received.
Excellent. And our reports, we have 3 before us today. The first one is a zoning bylaw amendment related to the public meeting we had earlier. The recommendation is that the council, the Township of Whitewater Region, approve a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone a portion of the property described as Lot 5 and Part Lot 4, Westmeath Concession to CLF from rural extraction industrial reserve bedrock and extractive industrial reserve sand and gravel to rural exception 78. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Moore. If council's okay, we will dismiss a presentation by the CEO of the file since we've heard it already today. But at this point in time, I'll open it up to council for any questions that you might have on this, and we'll start with the mover, Councillor Trim. And the seconder, Councillor Moore.
Just one. The purple where the house is going to be placed, is that Dupuis line opened? Is that why they're sharing the driveway on the other portion of the property? Or did Dupuis close there?
CAO?
That's my question.
Yeah, so I've just before today's meeting, I discussed this matter with our planner, Alex Benzie, who, prior to the writing of the report, did communicate with the manager of public works and the road superintendent. So it appears as though, based on the information we have to date, that Dupuis line, that road allowance does not continue beyond Molloy Road. However, there appears to be some different information that we received as recently as today. So we're going to investigate a bit more time into that. but for the information as of today is there is no unopened road allowance to which this new dwelling will front on. So no, there's no unopened road allowance, but in the case where there is one, we would come back to council likely with the signing of an agreement to authorize access to this new home over the unopened road allowance. So what we could do for the members of council, it's not really a very clear response. If there is none, we will communicate that to council. If there is one, we'll communicate by email saying we're going to return at a later date with another report in response to that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions from council on this item? Seeing none, I have one. And I just wanted to clarify, this isn't a severance of this purple chunk from the property. I just, in the eyes of the public, if they were to try to sell their house, it would be basically selling that property inclusive of these two dwellings. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the proposal that's before council is to allow for a secondary dwelling with some minor edits to the provisions. So in our township, as recently as January 2024, through the adoption of our new bylaw by council, we've incorporated secondary dwelling policies, which basically allow for secondary units, second units either attached to the main house or detached like this scenario here. In our township, whether the rural area, in the villages, and in the hamlets. So something for the public to understand. So yes, you're correct. If they are going to sell this home, it'll have to be sold with the remainder of the land and the other house. This is not a severance being considered by council. Thanks.
It's a single tax bill going to this property representing both of these.
Correct.
Good. Good. Any other questions trigger anything? Good. Then we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next item, 9.2, is Pembroke and Area Airport Commission 2024 budget. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the 2024 Pembroke and Area Airport budget and requisition. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Trim. Staff, is there any comments coming? Treasurer? Excellent. Treasurer, yours.
Yep, I can bring the report. So it's just this portion here is the actual budget. So the airport requires the council review the budget and approve it in order to kind of carry forward. It's through our agreement for the airport commission. Just of note, we did budget for $25,000 on the financial side for the year. This falls well below that budget amount. As requested for this year is only $17,055.24. And 2023's amount was 16,1112. So whenever we go through, they just have to request that the council review it, and once it's done, we then can issue them their payment for that side. They do their calculation based on the assessment of the actual participating municipalities, and that's how they come up with their apportionment of what they require from the municipalities. If anybody has any questions about the budget, I've actually done quite a bit of review on it, so feel free. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Treasurer. I'll go to the mover first. Councillor Moore.
I have nothing on this. This is an annual report we see every year, and any increases were, oh darn, it's left me. Any increases were inflation, sorry. And that's all I have.
Perfect. Seconder, Councillor Trim. Any other comments or questions from members of council? I see none, so we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Last item is the 2024 Department Work Plan, an update. So the recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region receive the 2024 Departmental Work Plan update for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Bell, Councillor Olmsted. And CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. So what we have before council in the attachment is an update to the 2024 Departmental Work Plan. What you'll note is the only change is the last column to which we've added the August update. So since 2021, and in fact before 2021, there used to be CAO work plans, but in 2021 they were converted to departmental work plans, and these have been presented to council to sort of approve and guide the operations of the township and the employees throughout the year. So we've brought forward, I think it was in early February, our 2024 departmental work plans. And they are essentially identified on the attachment. There's a total of 29 strategies that are presented, and they align with our township strategic plan and the council strategic direction for this term of council. Within the attachment, in that last column, we've essentially identified whether the initiative is completed, in progress, or also noted as ongoing, including a quarter on which it'll be finalized, and then expected, meaning that it's not commenced yet, it's not ongoing, and it's expected to commence in a certain time frame. So there's really only 3 responses you'll see there: completed, ongoing, or in progress, and expected. So I will note that at the time of the development of these, the departmental work plans, it was the direction from myself and from the senior management team to itemize as many initiatives as we could. I mean, recognizing that in some instances priorities change and we might not achieve it, but that's fine. It's something that we've noted that needs to get done, and whether we achieve it this year, that's great. If not, it'll just get pushed to a subsequent year. I won't review each and every single item, but certainly would welcome any general questions around it, and would welcome the councillor leads to communicate with their respective departments if they have any questions, or with the individual managers on each departmental area. So back to you, Mayor Nicholson, if there's any questions from the members of council. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, CEO, and appreciate this. To come back with this kind of notes to, just like you said, give us an opportunity to see the whole picture of all the work that's ongoing, completed or expected to happen, and to give us a better appreciation for which we can engage with staff on more details. But given that, we'll open it up to council. Is there any questions that members of council would like to raise the CAO or staff at this time on the departmental work plan update? Good. Councillor Trim?
Again, I don't have a question, but a comment, and that is that this is very impressive, the amount of work that the staff has committed to. And I, for one, am very impressed, and I hope that anybody in the public who reads this will get a sense of what staff do here for our community. And so really, that's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. And I'll just highlight, and I like this, and I pointed it out to the CAO already, where it's not going to be achieved this year, it's stated. We already know it's pushing off to next year, and that's good. That indicates to us that things are prioritized, or there's budget-dependent decisions that need to be made as a result of our process this fall for next year. So again, a very valuable tool from a council perspective, as well as indicating to the public just all the work that does get done behind the scenes. Good. Good, and we'll call for a vote then. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Good. Next item on the agenda is notices of motion. Is there any member of council that wishes to make a notice of motion at this point in time? I see none. We'll move on to correspondence. There's a number of items here today, and I believe the first 4 require direction, and 3 of them include a recommendation. So I will, and I'll just get the clerk, read the recommendation and then get a mover and a seconder, and then we can discuss it. Okay. So the recommendation on the first item, mental health and addictions for the City of Pembroke, is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region support the request from the City of Pembroke calling upon the province to allocate funding specifically for the establishment of a mental health, addiction, and residential drug treatment facility serving Renfrew County. A mover and a seconder, please. So moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Tabbert. Good. Am I the one speaking to this? Or are you? Yes. Oh. Yes. Okay. This is what happens when you have short meetings that you volunteer to do stuff. Okay, so in this, you'll see that the actual attachment includes a resolution from another municipality within the county offering its support of the Pembroke resolution. So that was the trigger for me to ask the clerk to include it in our agenda package as correspondence. But the City of Pembroke, in conjunction with the Renfrew County, has worded that resolution in order to increase the number of treatment beds that are available here in Renfrew County. Now, and this has already, through the county, been forwarded to the province, and they're already in discussions between the county and the province on possibilities of this. So it was very receptive from that perspective. And I think, given the reason I asked for it to come forward, is I think it's important for Whitewater Region to have a voice in something like this that affects our community. Although we don't directly support an mental health addictions or residential drug treatment facility, from a township perspective, I think it's an important asset that our community needs in its close proximity. Good. With that being said, I will turn it over to our mover for any comments or questions. So that's Councillor Olmsted.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I strongly support this initiative. As we know, drug and alcohol, substance abuse, addiction abuse is well, through the pandemic. We had an issue beforehand, but through the pandemic, it is absolutely through the roof. And in fact, speaking with a doctor just previous to the pandemic, they were saying Renfrew County is among the highest numbers in the country of substance, alcohol abuse. So I think it's very timely now that we dig in. What we're doing is not working. We see it across the country. I think there's still a stigma attached to it, including the mental health issues. There's still way too much that needs to be done. We're actually falling further and further behind every year rather than getting ahead of it. Everybody probably knows somebody that has been dealing, some families have been dealing with either alcohol or substance or mental health issues. And every year the numbers just seem to keep increasing. So we finally have to cut the head off this thing and get ahead of it. And I think the best way we can do that is through council and through local governments and up to the provincial governments to get lots of support behind it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Olmsted. I think that's representative of exactly how we're all feeling. Our seconder was Councillor Tabbert. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I do support this very much. I know that many of us, you hear about it in the news and, unless you're directly involved, you don't understand it. The Eganville Leader recently did a series of articles on the epidemic in our area. If anyone missed it, it's too bad. It was well done. It spoke to parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, relatives of all these people who have, lost someone to the drugs and alcohol and mental abuse or mental health. So I strongly support this. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any other comments or questions from other members of council? Good, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And carried, thank you. The next item is ineligible sources for recycling, and this was first initiated at the town of South Bruce Peninsula. The recommendation is that the council of the Township of Whitewater Region support the request from the town of South Bruce Peninsula that the province amend the Ontario Regulation 391-21 Blue Box so that the producers are responsible for the end-of-life management of recycling products from all sources, not just residents. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Trim. And I've asked our Superintendent of Environment, is that correct? Yes, our Environmental Superintendent, I'm struggling. Deanna, if you could say a few words just on this proposal, please.
For sure. So ineligible source material is blue box waste that's collected from commercial industrial businesses as well as not-for-profits like daycares and other sources. The exclusion of non-eligible sources from this new regulation means that these sources, once blue box transition occurs, will no longer have a structured program to ensure that their recyclables make it to a facility for recycling. Businesses, and more importantly, our municipalities, landfill, has benefited from the ability of blue box waste being co-collected with what will be now termed ineligible source material. And that's will no longer be possible with the changes to this regulation. Without inclusion of ineligible sources in the regulation, it's going to create a difficult situation for municipalities to ensure that blue box waste from these sources actually makes it to for recycling as opposed to ending up in our landfill.
Thank you. So think of all of the not-for-profits and the businesses that exist across our municipality. Come this time next year, they will be paying to have their recycling dealt with, out of pocket. The likelihood is that most people will just then put the recycling in the garbage because it's already paid for and will be picked up. So if we don't find a solution, it will impact us indirectly by adding to the landfill of things that we want to try to divert. So an important proposal. Good. Thank you. So I'll move it to our mover, Councillor Moore. Anything you want to add?
Just that it's nice to be part of what's happening with these groups. For the transition next year, this will help us to see what's happening with our neighbors, and maybe they can help us walk through some difficult times that could be coming. We don't know for sure. So anything we can do to support that along, I'm welcome to it.
Thank you. Councillor Trim? Any other members of council? Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The next item, there is no resolution or recommendation. I just wanted to highlight it for you and for members of the public that the County of Renfrew Winter Games ended up with a near $400,000 surplus, $375,000, and it has been generated into a legacy fund. That legacy fund is specific to athletic or games types of funding, where individuals, teams, and even municipalities will have an opportunity to apply for it to invest in, whether it's an individual going to participate at some kind of national bowling championship, or as we have a member of one of our staff competing in the international whitewater rafting race in Chile this fall, or in some cases even maybe it's an improvement to one of our facilities. So I just wanted to highlight it there. It's available for anyone of the public, and as well as our manager of community services, and it goes through the Ottawa Valley Community Foundation, which has been renamed. It previously was the Pembroke Petawawa Community Foundation, but now they're encompassing and accepting applications from across the county. Good. So something for you to share if you know of someone who might apply for that type of funding that's available. I believe they forecast that it'll last 4 to 5 years. I plan to roll it out over those 4 or 5 years and then exhaust the money available. Good. The last one has to do with the provincial coordination and support of wastewater surveillance. So the recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region support the request from the Renfrew County District Health Unit for continued provincial funding and support for important public health enhancements achieved during the pandemic, the cross-provincial infectious disease wastewater surveillance, and modernized case and contact management software. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. So this one is quite detailed in your package, but essentially the province is ending this system and using the federal system. However, the federal system, instead of monitoring numerous locations as the province had done. I believe it only monitors Toronto. So it does not replace what was previously there. Good. And this is just trying to encourage the provincial government to continue this public health enhancement. Good. Councillor Moore, as the mover, is there anything you want to add?
Anything, sorry, anything we can do to speed along support from the provincial government where it comes to water and wastewater is certainly welcomed. COVID has shown us that we're learning things that we never knew before, and we have to continue on. Just because some people seem to think COVID is over, we still have to continue what we're monitoring, and maybe it'll show us something else that's there that we just don't understand what's there. So I think if we shut it off, then we're starting from scratch next time, and I'd like to see it continue.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, seconder, anything you want to add?
No comments, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from other members of council? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Excellent. Next is the information items, and I'm not going to go through them, but I will offer the opportunity if anybody has to make a comment or question. There are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enclosed information items. Is there any comments or questions from members of council? Okay, seeing none, we're going to carry on. Announcements. I'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
No, I have none at this time, thank you.
Good. Councillor Bell?
So the Ross Museum, they're holding a Pioneer Day this coming Saturday from 1 until 4. They are looking for anybody that wants to volunteer on that day. What positions are they? Just hold on. To sell raffle tickets and just to help with guests on site, as well as donations for their bake sale that they're having that day. So if anybody would like to participate in that, again, that's they want volunteers to show up around 12 o'clock and for baked goods to be dropped off at that same time. So 1 to 4 this coming Saturday.
Excellent, thank you. And Councillor Tabbert?
Yes. On August 17th, I'll have to get them to mark this on the calendar, is the AG Annual General Meeting of the Muskrat Watershed Council from 10 to 1 at the Cobden Legion.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, just a reminder to get your butt to the Cobden Fair, August 23rd to the 25th, and I see we already have it on the calendar, which is fantastic. And you can buy your tickets at a bunch of local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Moore?
Nothing, thank you.
That's good. Councillor Trim?
Well, just further to the Cobden Fair, the council members have been invited to volunteer to scoop ice cream, and I have agreed to volunteer, and I haven't been given a time yet. So maybe some other councillors will scoop ice cream with me. Thank you.
I may take more ice cream than I give away. Yeah. That's perfect. Excellent. And I would just encourage, I think it was the Historical Society and Muskrat Watershed, just to include their items on our calendar so we can share them with the public.
Well, we have the one on there, which is surprising, but not the other one.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, good. Next is bylaws. And we have 2 in front of us today. The recommendation is that be it resolved that the bylaws listed on the August 7th agenda be taken as read and passed. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Any comments on bylaws listed on our agenda? Good. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Last item, second last item on our agenda is the closed session. And the number of items that will be discussed here. The recommendation is that the council of the Township Whitewater Region move into closed session at 2:58 PM as per Section 9 of procedural bylaw to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposal of land by the municipality or local board, the Pembroke Airport Commission, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local board employee, planner, EDO, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and this is the wastewater treatment plant, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and this has to do with the Recreation Association agreements, with staff remaining in the room throughout. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. And with that, we'll just pause to allow the room to be prepared to go into closed. Thank you.